Did you have to deal with the fact that you were in such an iconic character in early in your career, George McFly, being that, like, after that, it would have seemed to me to be very hard to jump into things you're interested in now.
Back to the Future, it was actually very informative to me in some of the things that I'm talking about in terms of propaganda. I know it's a very beloved film. But I was only in the first film. There was they had taken the molds of my face from the old age makeup from the original film and put another actor into prosthetics that were made from my face. And then interspliced a very small amount of footage of me from the original film in order to fool audiences into believing that I was in the movie. Because of my lawsuit, there are rules in the Screen Actors Guild that make it so producers can never do something like that again. I'm proud of the lawsuit, but the reason I bring it up is because the reason that I didn't end up being in the film, it's more complex than this, but I was asking questions that the producer's director didn't like. I was a serious actor as well, so when I started actually analyzing the screenplay, once we were involved in the project, I had questions about things. And there was a different end. I won't go into so many details about it, but I had questions about it, and it did get changed. And I think there are other people that had questions because there are things in it that could, particularly in this day, be thought of as, offensive. And those changes happened. It had to do with money and what people were doing, the characters were doing with money. But I didn't stop with it. I said to Robert Zemeckis, I thought, it was not a good idea for our characters to have a monetary reward because it basically makes the moral of the film be that money equals happiness. And, by having there were various things that were doing it, but by having the son character cheer, by having a truck in the garage, what I was arguing for was that the characters should be in love and that the love should be the reward. And Zemeckis got really mad at me when I said this. And didn't you
yell at you?
He yelled. Yeah, he was.
It's kind of odd discussing a film that old at this point, but didn't you see at the end the characters, they were more in love? I think especially your character and the wife, they did seem to be.
But my argument is that part was good. I was all for it, but I think it pollutes it.
Do you think the money could have been a peripheral effect of the happiness that they had?
I think it's a bad message.
Really?
I do. I think because that's propaganda. That says to people, go out and borrow money for banks. This is a big part of why the film was successful, because the corporations knew that it had that moral element in it. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I would also argue, that's only because they knew that was in there, therefore they can feel comfortable in funding it and putting a lot of money into distributing it. It caused me to not be in the sequels on some level. I'm sure it's complicated, but and then there was a lawsuit. It was very specifically not a legal thing. You can just say it's not a nice thing, but it is not a legal thing to do either. So this informed me that if you question propaganda, it has serious consequences. My experience in the business has been good. That would be the one real exception. That wasn't good. That was not a pleasant thing to have happen, because people still believe that was me. And the reason I had the lawsuit, it was the primary reason that I had it was I just wanted people to know that I wasn't in that. That wasn't me, because I didn't. If I had played that part, I would have played it differently. Right. I didn't like the way that guy played it, and people think that's me.
I didn't either.
Well, It still gets to me that there's that confusion, and what way is there to let it be known other than do that? So even still, that's why whenever anything about that's brought up now, I do talk about it. I'm talking about it more also because there's one one fella, he might have even been on your show. I'm not sure. The Bob Gale.
Yeah, Bob Gale was on.
Yeah, I think I listened to it. And on your show, he lied. He lied about
Did he?
some. Yeah, and you guys automatically believed what he said.
Oh man, reconcile it, please.
Well, what he said was that I had. Let me just be specific and let me think. He said that I had asked for the same amount of money that Michael J. Fox was getting in the film. It's total fabrication. The reason that he's doing this is because he wants to throw the track off of the conversation of that what they had done was illegal. So he's trying to justify as to why it was good for them to do this illegal thing. And so then people automatically believe, I remember what he said specifically was that then I had called back after the thing was in production saying, I want to do it or something.
Oh, right.
And somebody corroborated and went, oops, or something like that. It was like, I didn't do that. I actually did work on a different film at the time, a John Borman film. But what happened in the negotiation was I actually wanted to be in the film, but the offer was less than half of what Leah Thompson and Tom Wilson, who had similar-sized roles.
Sure, yeah.
And it wasn't fair.
Well, you set the record straight today. I'm glad.
No,
I'm glad. And we apologize for that.
No,
it's not
your fault.
We didn't have your phone number.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't people think something's true? But the reason I point to it specifically is he was involved in something that I've seen even when I use the word illegal. That people go, oh, drama queen. But very specifically, I saw somebody write those words.
I have them tattooed over my ass.
But very specifically, it was illegal. And so and he was a prime architect of that illegal activity. So there's a motive to make something seem, like it was justified to do this. And that's why he's saying these things. There are negative things that have been said to me and then about me on the Blu-rays that are not true. And
a commentary, really?
Yeah. He said things that are like, I haven't listened to it all in completion myself, but I've had people come up and say, did this, and this? I said, where did you hear that? And they said on the commentary on the Blu-ray for Back to the Future. And it's always from him. It's not from Robert Zemeckis. It's not. I mean, Steven Spielberg doesn't comment at all.
No.
But
moved on.
Anything. Bob Gale still is. That's his main career at this point as well. He doesn't really write films anymore. He's not involved in the industry other than having to do with things having to do with Back to the Future. So I think the fact that there was this lawsuit and he has a lot of focus specifically on that film series, he has a lot going on in his mind about it, specifically that there was an illegal action, and it's in the public records.
How would you have liked to have seen that ending play out if you had say?
The only thing was that I didn't think that there should have been monetary, the kind of clothes we were wearing.
That's what I was getting into. So when they walk in, they've been playing tennis, and they have nice clothes on.
Yeah.
Like all that was.
I thought it all pointed toward this idea that happiness was about wealth. It made me really uncomfortable. What I was wearing, holding a tennis racket, I did it because I thought I was going to get fired. But I vocalized that I didn't think this was a good idea. And I think there's even might be some commentary on the Blu-ray about where they said, "Oh, Crispin didn't like his clothes." I didn't care about the clothes. It was like I cared about the message.
And was it odd that Biff would be around the house at all, seeing what he did?
Well, see that's part of what the change was from what I originally read in the screenplay. There were different people. It wasn't Biff that was the servant to the family, and I had questions about it, and it did get.
Did they have slaves or something?
I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but
that's the first thing I thought of when you said that.
I know. Well, I don't want to go into a lot. I am actually in the. I'll write it down in a book at some point.
I'd love to read it, Crispin.